Welcome to Windy Videos. Today we're going to work with GoPro cameras. Today looks like it's going to be a really nice day to do some testing that I wanted to do for a long time, and maybe even do some of the testing on a motorcycle. I don't know if the temperature's ever going to get up into the mid-30s. Would be nice where I could do some of this testing. But one of the things today, most of the footage today is going to be I have those things from TRO.THE. They're like foam socks that go around the GoPro cameras, and I wanted to see if they really do work for me. Now they seem to work pretty well for Steve, but there's a difference on all the motorcycles. They're not all the same, and you can't, it's like comparing apples to oranges. What would work for me on a GoPro camera and record the sound the way I want it is any of the bikes that have a loud muffler. Well, what happened is over the summer, because I'm riding in different areas, not riding in Harriman Park anymore, I've tried to quiet all the bikes down. And when you quiet the bikes down, the more you quiet them down, what happens? You have to deal with wind noise, that annoying, and actually even doing still pictures, the wind noise is really lousy. So I'm trying to, and there's no cure for it. There's no, oh, it's going to go away. Or else the 5 o'clock news guy would have no big fuzzy dead cat on his microphone, and yet you still hear wind noise on those cameras, on those things that they have, those setups. So what I'm saying is, we know we're not going to totally win the war. We just want to make it a little bit better. If we can do some of that today, and we can share the information of what we learned, that'll be great. Now, from my lifelong study of aerodynamics and hydrodynamics, which it's a whole topic unto itself. I don't want to turn into Kevin Cameron because I'm not that smart. But I do know the basics. And the basics of wind noise are, there's a vibration that's in the air that the camera is picking up on a microphone. And by putting that foam in between, hopefully it mutes it. Well, you can mute all the sound. You can put a piece of black tape over the microphone. Then you don't hear the bike running. So the step one now I just wanted to mention is how aerodynamic is the motorcycle. This bike records sound beautifully. Almost no wind noise, a tiniest bit, because the sound is very dominant. It overcomes any of the wind noise. Now, and so the FZR is even better at recording. Some of the recordings, and I'll put at the end of this video some of the footage I have of chasing Mark Morgan around when the day he brought out his FZ600. I have some real nice footage that really shows the difference in sound and wind noise of how it picks up at, say, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, whatever speed you're going. So anyway, if you understand that, and it's information sharing, this gets pretty involved at the end. And I always say, if there was a total cure, the 5 o'clock news guys would have it. But they don't, so it probably means I'm not going to have it. But I always am striving to make it better. The thing I want to try is to make it as good as I possibly can. Now the worst scenarios are, and the MT-09 is the worst possible scenario, a very quiet muffler, and not an aerodynamic, a naked bike without any aerodynamics. The sound, when you see the sound on the video, and I hear the sound on the bike, it's two different things. It's a totally different thing. Now Steve's bike, because it has a fairing, it's more aerodynamic, maybe he leans a little more forward than I do. Anything you can do to make the bike aerodynamic is going to help, because as you disturb the air, you're making noise. The air is vibrating, making noise. So I'm just, before I even start today's test, I want to know what I'm trying to do here. Because here's another thing. Yesterday we were shooting, painting Luciano's tank. It's all dried up over there, in fact. And when I went to edit the video, the wind noise, holy mackerel, you almost couldn't hear the compressor running. Well, it doesn't matter what camera you use, even a camera that's shooting this video, not a GoPro. The camera has a microphone, it picks up the sound, and wind makes noise, because as air is moving, things are bouncing into each other, it's going around objects and it's swirling. It's a science unto itself, but I'm only trying to share the information that I've learned that seems to make it a little better. Having a remote mic in the back of your jacket instead of the front seems to make it better. Now what would be interesting with this, I don't have any bikes with rear mounts anymore, but I may set one up to have a rear mount, only so I can see if it works in reverse too. And I'll put some of that footage at the end of this. The footage from the back of the motorcycle with Mark Morgan behind me, no wind noise. The wind noise is gone. Well, yeah, for a lot of reasons. The bike is loud, the bike is aerodynamic, so that helps in that regard. So, and some people, it's funny, I go through all this effort, and some people I've talked to about the video, how you like the video? I took pictures of so-and-so, right? I said, I'm sorry about the wind noise. And they said, what wind noise? They don't even know it's there. So, or they don't care. Some people don't listen to the engine. Luciano listens to opera. I know guys listen out there. Gil right next door probably has a radio the size of this motorcycle in his saddlebags. Well, I don't do that. I listen to the engine and to the sirens following me. Now before I go have my coffee, I want to show you how this has dried up overnight. This to me is a work of art. I think Luciano, I'm going to put that out in the sun later. That turned out great. Bill's kickstand, and boy, I thank you every day, Bill. This is going to look so good. The next day we get a chance to work on the RD, we'll mount up the kickstand, polish up the spring. That just nice little detail touch. And this detail, this is gonna, he's gonna win every bike show he enters. So there's no better way to start one of these testing days than get that cup of coffee cooking. You never know if the birds are hungry, but I'm hungry. I gotta have breakfast, guys. Come on. Oh, they fly away. Now, as I'm having breakfast, this came, UPS or FedEx, whoever dropped it off. 4 gallons of Yamalube. That'll get us through the next 4 oil changes. And I mistakenly thought I had 100 miles to go with the Black Ninja. Well, I don't have to worry now. I'm stocked up for the summer. To show how nice this kickstand came out, and the tank. It's so cold. It's so early in the morning here. We don't even have the sun to use to our advantage, but yeah, that's some nice paintwork. That's going to look great on the RD. Another detail touch. Oh, it even looks nice. The sun isn't even really out. If I could get it over on the other end of the table, but maybe I'll take it out later and just let it cook in the sun. Wow. Luciano, if you only knew how much work I put into that tank for you, baby, you'd be ordering me a pepperoni sausage sandwich or something. Hey, the A-Team, once again, the A-Team comes through. And if you heard the wind noise on the last couple pictures, there's still pictures here, then I just wanted to have something to show without having that wind noise in the background. That wind noise absolutely is annoying. Yeah, no matter what light you look under, that is really some nice paint. Luciano, I'm sure you're going to be happy. That is really going to make for a sweet H1. I have really tried to eliminate that wind noise under every possible condition, and I've made it better, maybe made it a little bit better than I think I have, but in the end, it really is something you have to work on. And we're going to try. No, I just never get sick of oogling that paintwork. Boy, I go on and on about it, but that is really nice. But that's not the objective. The objective is right now, that's under a heating vent for 2 or 3 days, and that should be cured up perfectly. And my detail, everything's under a heating vent now, so we really are in good shape today to take a day and do some testing. Now, I'm always happy when I get up in the morning and there's an Amazon shipment on my porch. Now, I wound up getting this oil at a nice discount. Actually, it was $2 a gallon cheaper than getting it at my local motorcycle dealer. But I have had such good luck since I bought the R1. I put nothing but not chemical oil either, real Yamalube 1040. They recommend that in the R1, and I've used it in the MT-09. I've used it in all of the bikes, and thank you, Joe, for sharing that information. And genuine Yamaha oil filters, not Pride of Poland oil filters. Always like having inventory. When it comes time to work on the bikes, I don't like to have to stop what I'm doing and go get supplies. That's a good feeling, having some inventory. I don't know why I feel that way. So just as a moot point, I wanted to share information and try to share things that I've tried that have not worked. Now, in the very beginning, I never had a GoPro camera. I had 3 of these, some of which were pretty beat up from years of falling off the motorcycle and stuff. Actually, one fell off, I never even found it. But I used to make, I had mounts that I made, not GoPro mounts. I made the mounts out of aluminum. And I had this on the handlebars, and I had it facing backwards and down by the swing arm and everywhere, using this camera. And by the way, the camera works fine. It's no better or worse than a GoPro. But there's one thing it's terrible at, the wind noise. I got so frustrated at the end, I put tape over the microphone, and that didn't even totally mute it. It still sounded like I was in a wind tunnel. So at some point in time, I abandoned using the typical camera for riding shots that while you're riding the motorcycle, let's call them action shots. I always have 2 cameras with me. One takes the stills that you see on the video and the little action shots showing the background and maybe a snake crossing a road or whatever. But for the basic footage, if you want to shoot action footage, you're riding a motorcycle, these cameras, I don't know, even if you mount them the way, you know, in some secret way, and maybe somebody's already figured that out that's a lot smarter than me, well, but I haven't. So for our purposes of what we're trying to share today, we're just going to put this on the back burner, and this is what we're going to work with today, and I want to go through this in a methodical way so it makes sense. So some of the things I wanted to share that I thought would be relevant to this, I have really tried to improve the sound on these. And let's go right to the beginning. I get my first GoPro. These were the inexpensive GoPros that used to sell for $14, $15 on eBay, on Amazon. And we went to a track day. The first time we ever used this, we went to a track day. Luciano had one, I had one. We were shooting video. Came home and the sound was terrible. The footage was nice. You could see the bikes going around a corner. The sound was terrible. So in sharing information, I had noticed that a lot of people were sharing the information of drilling holes in the back. I drilled the holes in the back. We went to another track day. At this point, I was only doing track days with the camera. And wow, it got a lot better. Wow. So then I got to the point where I actually bought a couple of these and made, I got to show, I had extra ones here. I made one that had, it's almost open in the back. Anyway, you get the point that the more there it is. The more, this one I bought, it had slots. And I said, oh, well, how about if we just get away with the box altogether? Because I was new to this. I didn't understand. I was new to figuring this stuff out. And then Luciano donated this camera to the cause, but I never figured out how to use it properly. It's a Sony camera. It's something in the future I'm going to try to figure some way of using it. But I wound up, over the course of the thing, buying about 10 of these little inexpensive cameras. And by the way, funny thing, this one fell off a motorcycle. I pieced it all back together with black tape. It was in 20 different pieces, and it still records. The TV screen doesn't work. It still records. You can take the chip out and load it. But for $14, $22, these were so cheap. I just wound up buying new ones. So, but the point is, I've really put some effort into trying to get the sound better. The footage, when you start to shoot footage and you run home with your new footage of your new GoPro, almost everybody's happy with, yeah, you can make, no matter how you edit it, and then they hear that I call it the shop vac sound, and they get, well, and they think you're just going to go push a button and that's going to go away. No, not really. So now I want to thank Najat. Najat recently donated 2 of his old GoPro cameras. He's a professional photographer, and I'm sure he has the latest and greatest equipment. These were in his inventory, and he graciously donated them. What I've done to make sure I never confuse which is which, I've got the cameras set 2 different ways. I put a piece of black tape on one, because a lot of times when I go out with more than one camera, I want to know which footage came from which camera. So here's what I wanted to show. Let me just take one away so it's easy. These are called windslayers, and Turbo Steve gave me all the information for this. One came pretty well squashed. I don't know, it looks like it's coming back to life, but one is perfect. So for our purposes of our test, I want to, of course, use the good one. So what this does, it totally encases the whole camera. And it's, again, these are from Amazon. They're 2 for $10. It seems like, and I'm sure you would never be able to do this with gloves on, so it's kind of, maybe this is really just going to be a summer thing that you can do this. So here's the whole thing in a nutshell that I have found to be a little bit of an issue. Now, right now, this mounts to my jacket. If you mount this to the handlebars, fine. You can see if the camera's on. The problem is right now that I personally have, when this is on my jacket and I try to turn the camera on, sometime I turn it on, turn it off, you've got to listen for the little beep. I've got to know exactly where the button is. Now, 3 beeps, you know it's on. Now I've got to be able to, and in case this is cased in on the jacket mount, I've got to be able to turn the camera on. And you see it's kind of awkward. There it is. And with gloves, it's impossible. So there we have the camera on. Now that's really neat and nifty and everything, but now you're riding for 5 minutes, say, and you're behind a school bus. Well, I don't want to waste my battery. Okay. So it makes it that because I can hear the beep, I think somewhere down the road I'll be able to live with that. But the first thing I want to find out is it worth even putting this on? Because here's the choices that I'll take the other camera. The choices with my camera, I could just put this camera on my chest mount. I've been shooting all the video from the chest mount, but that could change. I have hundreds of camera mounts for all over the motorcycle, like a Christmas tree. So here's the crux of the whole thing. If you just put this on your front of your motorcycle, you're going to have, like, let's use number 10. You have a number 10 wind noise. And yeah, you can deal with it. If you go under 70 miles an hour, it's livable. Above 70 and really above 90, wow, like on a track day, it just gets, you can't even hear it. So the whole point is this, you're limited in what you can do with this. It gets better by 10%. So let's use this raw camera as a 10. If I plug in my remote mic with the little, it's got some of this material over the microphone, it gets to be a 9. It's better. It's not a whole lot better, though. That's the problem. Then what I did, I moved the remote microphone to the side, down by the muffler, under the gas tank. It got better by such an incremental amount, and there were times it got worse. That the wind noise, because it's an aerodynamic thing, certain parts of the motorcycle, the air is very disturbed. If you look behind a boat, you see the air. Well, anything liquid is going to be the air, and the water are the same. So if you get out of that zone, and an example is Turbo Steve said he puts it behind the windshield. That's a good idea. That probably makes it a lot better. On an MT-09, no windshield yet. That could change. But anyway, the real thing I'm trying to come up with, what would be a valid test for a future video to do this, and how can I do it? And I want to be all prepped up, so if we get that magic day that we're going to have the whole day to do a test, and maybe get together with Turbo Steve for the test, that would really be the test, and ride side by side and then compare footage. At this point, I don't exactly know how I want to do the test or how I'm going to be able to do based on the weather. Now, another little thing for the future, this is, I assume that this is the remote that, because I just took it out of the box, this has to get plugged in to recharge the battery. And so what I'm looking for is, I'm wondering if this is going to change anything. I'm not familiar with this, but Turbo Steve went and bought a remote. Maybe this is the same one he bought for his camera, and he said it didn't really work that reliably. So I'm not going to spend really a lot of time with this. And I am able to, the downside would be I have to take my gloves off or take that spare one and cut a little window so I can see when the camera's on and not on. Because a lot of times when the engine is running on one of the louder bikes, you don't hear that beep. You hear the beep on the MT-09 or on the Black Ninja, but you don't hear it. On the green bike, you don't hear that at all. You could just be sitting here pushing a button and taking pictures. So anyway, I don't know if this is going to be part of the test, but I know I've got to come up with, I know in the near future I've got to come up with a really valid way of doing the test, and I haven't done that yet. And I'm going to talk to Turbo Steve about how we can possibly do this. The best way would be, if we really were interested in doing this like professionals, we'd mount one camera here with the sock on and one camera here without the sock on, make a double mount on a piece of aluminum, bolt that to the motorcycle somehow, and take the same ride over and over and over, and then go home and check. You could play them side by side. I'm not sure we need to go to that level, because what I'm going to be able to do is the next day I get to ride. I'm going to be able to ride. I'm going to ride the whole first half of the ride with the camera without a case, then stop, carefully put it on, put a new battery in the camera, turn it on, and then shoot another half an hour, 45 minutes of video with the sock. Then I come home and I'll know where I put the battery on, and I can compare them and make 10-second segments. That's a thing for a future day. That's a ride day. Today is not a ride day, but I was hoping I could set some of this stuff up, and I was hoping I could share some of this good information. But the final thing on this whole project is I'm going to take this camera outside while the wind is blowing and see if I can tell the difference when the wind is blowing or not blowing, with the sock on or the sock off. I don't know if that's going to be a valid thing, but we'll give it a try. Okay, now this should be an interesting test. The footage, the visual footage, I'm not interested in. I'm going to just walk around, see if I can pick up wind noise here. You can see everything. It's a slight breeze blowing. This is without the sock. No sock. I want to just shoot a couple of minutes of footage and see what the sound is like. No wind sock. Okay, now this footage is with the wind sock on. Going to try to stay in the same area on the same day. Not sure the wind is blowing any different. Just give it 15 seconds. Okay, now this is with no wind sock, roughly 3 feet away from the bike. I don't know how authentic it's going to pick that up. Okay, this is with the wind sock installed. I'm not sure you're going to see a lot of difference, but the real test is going to be the day we get to do a ride. A real ride. So I hope that was some decent information that you can use. Quality information, and we're not trying to bias the test. We're not selling these things or anything, but here's the whole thing. We will know probably very soon. Next couple of rides we'll be doing some extensive tests, and if it doesn't work, we're going to be out $10. No big deal. Not even a tank of gas. But if it does work and we can improve, say we're at a 9 now, we can get it down to an 8 or a 7, and maybe Turbo Steve will have some other ideas. In the meantime, he's the one found these, and working together like we do on the A-Team, we should be able to improve the footage, I hope, in the near future. So I hope that information is something that at least gives you food for thought, something you can think about if you're interested in shooting video, and a lot of my friends are. And a lot of them, you know, if you share the information, people find out this is one of the things. And I, again, thank you, Turbo Steve, sharing information, and especially sharing things that don't work to save you the money. Now, I know Turbo Steve has that remote control because he didn't like it. If that one I have doesn't work that Najat gave me, and thank you again, Najat, that I would just save $80 by not buying it. So that's always a good thing. Now, Turbo Steve has other advantages. He's got other people that have remote helmet cams, and he's a very good electronic guy. I'm not, so I kind of lean on him for some good ideas for this stuff. Again, these are so much fun to have, and I just love the fact. Now, I'm going to show right after this big, big talking. I'm yapping like a goose here. The reason I like to shoot this footage and save it years later, and I'm going to put some footage right at the end of this video of a great day. Mark Morgan brought out the FZ600 that we had restored together. He did the mechanical work, I did the paint work, and the day he brought that out, he was the star of the show. We went for a ride with Bob Novola. We ate pizza pie. We went up Bear Mountain, and before COVID, it was a whole different world. And speaking of COVID, thank you guys so much to healthcare workers. I can't even tell you how thankful I am. You've kept my family safe. You've made it that I can screw around with GoPros and paint kickstands and paint Luciano's baby here. Anyway, I look forward to seeing that all put together in one piece, but it's got to sit under that heating vent 2 or 3 days for that paint to really harden up, because it was painted and left to dry in a cold garage. So check out the end of this footage, and it's very funny. I think it's a great memory. Even more reason to preserve these memories that we have of these old bikes, because little by little, every year there's less of them and there's less of us. Now, this is just a little photo show and some short video of Mark's FZ600 restoration. Over the years, we have gotten some good footage of this. The bike now resides in Dale's Motorcyclopedia Museum, as far as I know, the last time I spoke to Mark. This is good video. I remember working with Mark during this restoration. He pretty much lived at my house. Of course, that was all before COVID. He did a great job getting some of the parts. These are very hard to find parts. And that paintwork is not an easy one. And it just gives you a little taste of why we restore these old bikes, why we spend our heart and soul and all the money we do and time and energy. Once they're restored and you're out on the open road, my God, you forget all about all that work. Of course, not every day turns out to be exactly what we planned. This was unfortunately part of this day. It was a mishap on purpose. But it didn't spoil our day. We still got some more riding in it. This FZ600 is a beautiful bike. I try to get it from the front and from the back. For me, these are some pretty special memories of a really fun restoration. This was really an excellent restoration. Now, it's why I love having all this video, and actually what motivates me to shoot all the video is years later, we get older, the bikes come and go with the wind, some of them are keepers, and this one, because it's in a museum, I'm sure it didn't wind up in a ditch, which can happen. Anyway, congratulations, Mark. You brought back some great memories today on a day that I'm sitting in my shop and I'm freezing cold and working like a dog and drinking coffee. This brought back some really wonderful memories before the COVID changed everything for us. This was really a great memory. So I hope you enjoyed the video itself, shared some good quality information about sound, and that little sample video we had at the end of when those bikes are loud, you don't hear the wind noise as much. Very little. Anyway, we do try to post up something every day. We do try to share. We actually share all the adventures that we're living together as individuals and as the A-Team and as Mark Morgan. who's currently in Pittsburgh, I think. But anyway, we do try to stay in touch. The videos are a big help. We hope you enjoy all the adventures of the A-Team and the videos I post. And most of all, guys, thanks so much for watching.